হরিধর নিতাইর পায় সম্বন্ধ নাই যারা সেই বড় দুরাচার সম্বন্ধ নাহি যারা বৃথা জন্ম গেল তারা সেই পশু বড় দুরাচার নিতাই না বলিলা মুখে মজিল সংসার সুখে বিদ্যা কুলে কি করিবে তারা অহংকারে মতা হইয়া নিতাই পদ পাশরিয়া অসত্যরে সত্য করি মানে নিতাইয়ের করুণা হবে ব্রজে রাধা কৃষ্ণ পাবে ধর নিতাই চরণ দুখানি নিতাইয়ের চরণ সত্য তাহার সেবক নিত্য নিতাই পদ সদা করো আশা নরোত্তম বর দুঃখে নিতাই মরে করো সুখে রাখো রঙ্গা চরণের পাশা হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে হরে Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare। जय श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, श्री गिरिराज कृष्ण की जय, श्री श्री राधा रमन जी की जय, गौर प्रमानंदे हरि हरि। श्री चैतन्य भागवत आदि खंड वॉल्यूम 2 चैप्टर 13 महाप्रभु निमाय डिफीट्स दिग्विजयी। जय जय द्विज कुल दीप गौर चंद्र जय जय भक्त गोष्ठी हृदय आनंद। All glories to Sri Gaurachandra, the shining light of the family of Brahmanas. All glories to the Lord who increases the happiness in the hearts of his devotees. Jaya Jaya Dwarapalo Govindara Natha Jiva Pratikara Prabhu Subha Drusti Pata। All glories to Lord Govinda, the doorkeeper. O Lord, please glance mercifully on the living entities. Jaya Adhyapaka Siro Ratna Vipraraja Jaya Jaya Chaitanyara Bhakta Samaja। All glories to the crest jewel of teachers and the king of Brahmanas. All glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. He namate vidyarase Sri Vaikuntha Natha Vaishena savara kari Vidya Garbhapata। In this way, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed his scholastic pastimes by vanquishing the scholar's pride. Yadyapi navadipe pandita samaja koti arbuda dhyapaka nana shastra raja। Navadip was full of millions of learned scholars, each of whom had mastered various scriptures. Bhattacharya Chakravarti Misravacharya Adhyapana Vinakaro Aronahi Karya। Bhattacharyas, Chakravartis, Misras and Acharyas had no occupation other than teaching. Yadyapi savai swatantra savarajaya Shastra charcha hoile Brahma reha nahi saya। These scholars were all independent and so victorious in debating scriptures that they disregarded persons as learned as Lord Brahma. Prabhu yata niravadhi akshepa karena parampara sakhyateha savai sunena। Lord constantly rebuked these scholars who had to directly or indirectly hear those chants. Tathapi he na jana nahi prabhu prati dirukti karite karo nahi shakti koti. Nevertheless, not one of them was able to counter the Lord's challenges. Hena se swadha, hena se sadhos, hena se sadhos sajan mein प्रभुर देखिया सबई जाए न एक दिखे नम्र होया. They were so frightened on seeing the Lord that they would humbly try to avoid him. So Navadip was full with learned scholars. Just like in Krishna's time, all warriors, they even neglected Indra. They considered Indra less than them. Similarly, in Navadip, each scholar considered Brahma is useless. But then each one of them either defeated directly or indirectly by Nimai Pandit. Hence, all of them would try to avoid him. Whoever the Lord spoke with would become his staunch follower. Everyone on the banks of Ganges knew well that Lord was most intelligent from his very childhood. Within their hearts they knew Lord could not be defeated in argument. Therefore they naturally became frightened when they saw the Lord, and they were obliged to accept his subordination to him. Nevertheless, the influence of the illusory energy is such that no one was able to recognize him. No one can possibly recognize the Lord unless and until he reveals himself. So, they were defeated by Nimai Pandit. But although they were defeated, they would always glorify the knowledge and intellectual prowess of Nimai Pandit. Nobody could understand the internal nature or ontological nature of Nimai Pandit. The Lord is eternally merciful to the living entities in every respect. Yet, due to the influence of his illusory energy, everyone remained ignorant of his identity. In this way, Gaurachandra bewildered everyone as he enjoyed his scholastic pastimes in Navadip. In the meantime, a proud champion of learning arrived in Navadip. Some people say that Mahadigvijay refers to Kesava Kashmiri or Kesava Bhatta, the disciple of Gangalya Bhatta of the Nimbarka Sampradaya. In consideration of the time factor, there is a difference of opinion in this regard. In his Digdarshini commentary in Haribhakti Vilas, Srimad Gopal Bhatta Goswami Prabhu has quoted many verses from Kesava Bhatta's Kramadipika as evidence. Later on, this Kesava Bhatta was accepted as an acharya in the disciplic succession of Nimbarka Sampradaya. If Kesava Bhatta, the author of Kramadipika, was accepted in the disciplic succession of Nimbarka Acharya Sampradaya, however, then the author of Sri Hari Bhakti Vilasa would have mentioned it in his writing. I didn't follow what is the problem here, so let me not speak about it. He was a staunch devotee of Goddess Saraswati. By chanting her mantra, he had won her favor. Saraswati is the personification of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. Being non-different from Lakshmi, she eternally resides on the chest of Lord Vishnu. She is the mother of the universe. Rama refers to Sri Shakti or Lakshmi, who resides on the chest of Vishnu. Rama refers to Sri Shakti or Lakshmi, who resides in the chest of Vishnu. Saraswati is the personification of devotional service or Bhu Shakti. She is consort of the holy name of the Lord. The phrase Jagannatha refers to Vishnu Leela, Vishnu's Nila, Leela and Durga Shaktis. Although the features of Rama, Saraswati and Durga are different, they are all actually non-different from Sri Narayani or Lakshmi, the internal potency of Sri Narayana. They are all personification of Lord Vishnu's service. Since they are all principal Asraya Vigrahas, they are the mothers of the universe. It is amazing. Durga always has to remain in touch with three modes of material nature. What a curse! What a curse! To lead a life in the human duration, that is maximum 100 years, is like a hell. It's like a hell. You take birth and then you suffer from diseases, you study, you get failed, all those happens, then you get married, then you are mistreated by your own family members, and then you grow old, you are disliked by everyone, and then you leave your body in a very miserable way, because we never spent our time in Krishna consciousness, and hence no knowledge, we are full of ignorance, we are suffering and suffering and suffering, and there is no trace of happiness, and still we continue. It's such a cursed life. So hats off to Mother Durga for doing this service, because if she doesn't remain in touch with the three modes of material nature, then this creation would not be possible. Though such popped up people who receive her benedictions are able to conquer the three worlds, they are eligible for being totally defeated by Supreme Lord, who is the ultimate giver of all benediction. Saraswati Devi never desires that her worshipable Lord may be defeated. So she deceives the conditioned souls who are bewildered by Maya from chanting the glories of Krishna's name. When Suddha Saraswati Devi sees that her worshipper is not inclined towards the service of the Supreme Lord, she bewilders him with material knowledge, which is her shadow form. So there is Saraswati and there is Maya Saraswati. There is Lakshmi, then there is Maya Lakshmi. There is Sita, there is Maya Sita. So that means there are real character and then there is shadow. So for polluted beings, Rama, Saraswati and Durga, they appear as shadow in their shadow form. Whereas for pure devotees, Rama, Saraswati and Durga, they all act as Yogamaya potency. They help the devotees, they support the devotees, they nourish the devotees. After directly receiving the benediction of Goddess Saraswati, the Brahmana travelled from province to province, defeating the local scholars wherever he went. So you see that here the Digvijay is only talked about Digvijay. His name is not there, but Kesava Kashmiri is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in somewhere it is written Kesava Mishra, here it is said Kesava Bhatta. So there are so many opinions. But there is no two opinion about Nimai Pandit defeating Digvijay. All the scriptures resided on the tip of his tongue. There was no one in the world who could answer his challenge. Yara kaksha matra nahi bujhe kono jane Digvijay hai bule sarvasthane sthane. Many scholars were not even able to understand his questions. So he easily conquered the scholars wherever he went. He then heard about the glories of Navadev, wherein endless learned scholars resided. Thus, after conquering all other provinces, the champion scholar came to Navadeep along with his opulent entourage, which included horses and elephants. As a result, a loud commotion arose in every house and every assembly of learned scholars in Nadia. People everywhere were heard saying, "A champion scholar has come to Navadev with a certificate of victory from scholars all over the country." When all the learned scholars of Navadev heard that he was favored by Saraswati, they began to worry. Of all places of learning throughout Jambudipa, Navadeepa surpasses all. Jambudipa, in which India is situated, is one of the 7 islands. By her own glories, Navadeep was the most famous and celebrated of all places adorned with intelligent people in India. If this Digvijay is victorious in such a place as this, then scholars all over the world will condemn us. Yet, who has the ability to debate with one who has received the blessings of Saraswati? So this Bhattacharyas, Chakravartis, Mishras of Navadev, they were so puffed up, they didn't have any faith in Krishna or a transcendental, the absolute truth per se. But they were very frightened about Shadow Rama, Shadow Saraswati and Shadow Durga. So, you may not. So these people, just like we have been reading again and again, we should take shelter of a Vaishnava, we should never mistreat a devotee, we should be very respectful, otherwise we will be condemned. But these people, we saw in Navadev, they condemned devotees. But then, when you condemn devotees simultaneously, you are afraid of these shadow Shaktis. Since Saraswati resides on his tongue, how can a human being debate with him? This is how everyone, the Bhattacharyas, Chakravartis, everyone, they thought. Thousands of great Bhattacharyas left their duties out of anxiety. Means they closed their Sanskrit toll. So they have their schools, they closed down the school. Shutters were down. All over Navadeep people were heard saying, "Now we'll understand the power of our knowledge." So obviously, Am Janta was absolutely, Am Janta was absolutely crestfallen by the arrogance of all these Koti scholars, millions of scholars. You can imagine how this Navadeep atmosphere must be. Everybody's chest is so puffed up. And ordinary people, they must have been looked at with sheer arrogance, and they must be feeling, they must be crying for Santi, Santi, peace, peace. Huh? So they claimed, let us see. These people were so arrogant, they were torturing us. Let's see how knowledgeable these people are. Navadip is celebrated as the center of learning. So time has come. The students went and informed their teacher Gauranga of all these incidents. So Nimai was also informed. The Digvijay is coming. Is about. He is about. So when he left Banaras by defeating there, and on his way, and people might have started speaking, oh, he is about to reach Navadip. Even a month before, or 2 months before, who knows? When this fear, psyche, gripped the entire residents of Navadip. A Digvijay who has been blessed by Saraswati, who has conquered scholars throughout the world, has come with his certificate of victory. He has arrived in Navadip surrounded by elephants, horses, palanquin, and many followers. So he is not coming one alone. He has his own processor. Elephant, horses, his students. He has come to Navadip seeking an opponent. Otherwise, he demands a certificate of victory from the scholars of Navadip. Hearing the words of his students, the jewel-like Gauranga smiled and began to describe the nature of the Supreme Lord. Listen, dear brothers, the Supreme Lord never tolerates false pride. Hearing about Digvijay's bragging from Navadip students who were afraid of their imminent defeat, Sri Gaurasundara solaced them by describing the nature or truth of the Supreme Lord as follows. The Supreme Lord, who is the controller of Maya, completely destroys the false ego of proud persons who are controlled by Maya. That is, he destroys the pride of proud person and does not assist them in annihilating their pride in any way. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, O Conqueror, O Supreme Creator and Master, you defeat the false pride of faithless demons and show mercy to your saintly devotees. So you see here, this is so interesting. We are all expert in dancing in the altar of our false ego. And when our false ego is violated, we immediately fall flat to the ground until our mustache catches good amount of dirt. And this is true for all of us, not only Digvijay. So when we laugh at Digvijay, at least Digvijay had certain ability. Saraswati was residing in his tongue. So at least he has something. But what we have, nothing. But we are falsely so proud. Whenever the Lord sees someone proud of some personal quality, He certainly removes the cause of that fraud. Three modes of material nature are present in this material kingdom. The three modes keep their identities intact by remaining distinct while mixing with the other modes. When the modes of passion and ignorance are subdued by the mode of goodness, a living entity becomes situated in the mode of goodness. But even in such a mode of goodness, a specific relationship with the mode of passion and ignorance still remains. When the specific relationship with both passion and ignorance is completely absent in the mode of goodness, it is called Vishuddha Sattva or Nirguna. In order to manifest his Vaikuntha pastimes by bringing into equilibrium the ever conflicting three modes of nature, under whose control intoxicated egoistic persons exhibit their pride, the Supreme Lord removes the opposing nature of the modes and establishes them on the platform of transcendence. The false ego born of the modes of nature is agitated by time. In other words, the concepts of I and mine, which are born from the modes, are found within the time factor and are destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, the relationship of the living entities with the modes of nature is only temporary, not eternal. The three states of birth, maintenance, and death, which are born of modes of nature, are not eternal. Therefore, they are ephemeral. Activities performed with the aversion to the Lord by living entities who consider themselves the doers are inferior, while activities performed by service by living entities while activities performed as service by living entities who consider themselves servants of Lord are superior or eternal. So, time will certainly annihilate. Certainly annihilate. Nobody is bigger than time. Time has annihilated the pride of British civilization, the pride of communist empire, the pride of capitalism, the pride of communism, the pride of so many other isms. So all kinds of prides have been vanquished, and time is the witness. So dear devotees, let us act in advance so that we don't become victim to our own pride. That means we don't allow the three modes of material nature cover the soul, the Brahman. The nature of both the tree laden with fruit and the main decorated with good qualities is that they bow down with humility. So when a tree is filled with fruits, you can see the tree is humble. Similarly, when we have real knowledge, we should be very humble. Real knowledge should make us very humble, not very proud. Just as the tree bends down at the burden of fruits, persons who are in mode of goodness exhibit humility as a result of their good qualities. Persons who are averse to the purport of statements like a little education is dangerous, a small fish jumps too much, and a castor oil plant grows like tree, praise their own small achievements due to material destitution, thus become reluctant to display humility before others. That is why Sri Gaurasundara has taught, for the benefit of people in general, that only those persons who consider themselves lower than the straw and the street are always eligible to serve the Supreme Lord by chanting the holy name of Hari. The living entities possess minute quantities of the Lord's nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living entities are described as para prakriti or superior nature, while exhibiting pastimes as a spiritual master for the entire world, and while describing the nature of living entities who possess saintly qualities. Sri Gaurasundara has displayed the ideal example of actual humility. So Mahaprabhu is saying, you must have heard of the great Digvijayas of the past, like Haihaya, Nahusa, Bena, Bana, this is Banasura, Naraka, and Ravana. So Haihaya is same as Karta Viryarjuna, was the king of Mahismatipura. Again. So, from Madhya Pradesh. He received thousands of alms by blessings of Lord Dattatreya and was killed by the hands of Lord Parasurama. A description of these incidents is found in Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabharata, the Harivangsha and Vayu Purana, Matsya Purana and Markandeya Purana. So many places it is described how Kartavirya was tamed or was annihilated, was killed by great incarnation of Krishna in the form of Parasurama. Nahusa, who was born in the womb of Surabhava Navi by Ayu, was the son of Pururuva, the saintly king of dynasty of moon god. He was the father of Maharaja Yayati. A description of Nahusa's becoming intoxicated by opulence, illusion and fall down is described in Mahabharata. And Ajagara Parva and Udyaga Parva is also described in Harivangsha, the Vayu Purana and Brahma Purana. So about Nahusa's overt attachment with opulence, illusion, and finally he met his own fall down. Who will not fall down? Who will not have fall down? At least even if throughout the life, let's imagine throughout the life, your bodily surface is not even touched. There is not a scratch in your body, both subtle and gross. But at the time of death, all your false ego must come to an end. Must come to an end. It was like today, I was in Aishmriti office. So when we took that, we dreamt big. We dreamt big thinking that this will give us some revenues for Krishna consciousness. And today I was seeing how everything is being winded off, means everything they are trying to shift such that by 31st they hand over the office. So like that, we create our dream and all those dreams are finally vanquished. The ultimate pride in a life is the pride of youth. Oh, I can do. I can so much. What so much you will do? Ravana could not do. Hiranyakashipu could not do. And still a mustard seed like Leela Purushottam Das comes and says, I will sow. Or what you will sow? Nothing. If Krishna wants something happen, then that will happen. Otherwise, everything is getting annihilated. The only thing that Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants is that His holy name to be glorified. People should understand the glories of His holy name. And all others are all so-called vanity. So-called vanity. Bena was ghostly, haunted, atheistic son of saintly King Anga. A description of his atheism born of self-worship, his immediate destruction by the curse of Brahmanas who observed his cruelty towards other living entities. And the appearance of Maharaja Prithu from churning of his arm is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto. Bena was averse to serving the Lord through lust, fear, envy, familiar relationship, affection or devotion, and averse to the strong favorable cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So as a result of his heinous sins, he fell into the darkest region of hell forever. This Bena was so cruel, so atheistic. All that have to be recited by the Brahmanas, and they have to recite the same mantra 3 times. Die, die, and die. That's all. And finished. That's why many times I tell you, there is no need for Krishna to come here and to kill anyone. Krishna can annihilate anyone if, the Brahmanas, they have nothing. They are not warriors. But simply uttering the word, die, die, and die. Finished. Bena is dead. Just like in Kali Yuga, you don't have to do anything. Just follow the spirit of Kali, and you are dragging towards your own destruction. Just follow. And particularly in Kali Yuga, the best way to go to the hill, to go to hell, is to follow majority. Follow majority. The saintly king Yudhishthira spoke to Narada Muni in Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto as follows: Katomopi navena syat panchanam purusam prati tasmat kenapi upayena manaha krishne nivesayat. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheist like King Bena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. So, there are 5 ways, I don't know. One is deity form probably, the other is sound form, and I don't know what are the 5 ways one should be. One should meditate on Krishna. One is, of course, deity form, the other is sound form. What are other 3? Anybody knows? Gore 7.1.32, previous verse would tell. Somebody should look at it. The 100-armed Bana was a very dear servant of Rudra, Banasura, son of Maharaja Bali, the king of demons. His other name is Mahakala. The description of Bana and vanquishment of his pride by Krishna is found in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 62 and 63, and in Harivamsa. Banasura was I think he was defeated because Banasura called Lord Shiva and Krishna went here from this side. And finally Lord Shiva was defeated and Banasura's pride was completely destroyed or annihilated. Naraka was a great demon born in the womb of Bhumi, Mother Earth, by the touch of Barahadev. This place is recently known in Assam as Kokrajhar, in that area. There is a group called Bodo. So, these Bodos are descendants of Naraka. And Naraka is descendant of Vishnu and Bhudevi. So, Krishna annihilated him. He went along with Satyabhama. Ravana's birth, austerities and pride resulting from victories in battle by the influence of a benediction are described in Ramayana. Description of his anger on hearing news of death of Khara and Dusana at the hand of Sri Rama and the incidents beginning with his kidnapping of Maya Sita up to his death are found in Ramayana, Aranya Kanda, Sundara Kanda, Lanka Kanda. And the Mahabharata, Draupadi Harana Parva, within the Bana Parva, chapters 274, 277, 280, 284, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, chapter 10. The word Mahadigvijay refers to Brahmanas who conquer the 8 directions on the strength of their knowledge, Kshatriyas who conquer the 8 directions in battle on the strength of their arms, and Vaishyas who conquer the 8 directions on the strength of their wealth, earned through farming and trade. So Vaishyas, today the big news is this Amazon owner has now bank balance of $200 billion. So $200 billion, probably it will be bigger than Pakistan's budget probably. India's economy is 2 trillion, around 3 trillion. So, but 200 billion is not a small amount. There are many countries, their budget will be much less than $200 billion. Looks like Bangladesh and Nepal, Bhutan. Bhutan is certainly much less than, I don't know how many $1 billion, maybe. Somebody has some idea. So anyhow, this is amazing. How Krishna, Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit gave the example, wonderful example. Narakasura, Banasura, Ravana, Bena, Nahusa, and Kartaviryarjuna, Hayya. So dear devotees, so it seems Nimai Pandit's students, I don't know whether they were really afraid Try to think though whose pride was not smashed. The Supreme Lord never tolerates anyone's false ego. That means Nimai Pandit saying, I am the Supreme Lord. Don't worry. I am going to vanquish. Therefore, you will see this Digvijay scholastic pride vanquished here in Navadip. After saying this, Nimai smiled. Then in the evening, he took his student to the bank of Ganges. After sprinkling some Ganges water on his head, offering obeisance, Lord Gauranga sat down on the bank with his students. I think this is 50th verse. We will stop here and we will continue with how Mahaprabhu would defeat this Digvijay. So it's a huge chapter. So 209 verses. So we are only on the 50th verse. So any question anybody has? Sir, if material world is so portrayed without any trace of happiness, where does the feeling that we can find happiness anyway? And therefore we shouldn't give up come from? Why does the mind not come to term? My dear friend, it is sin, sin and sin. It is only sin only, my dear friend, that makes us to think that we will have happiness here. If any one of us, we are thinking that we will have some happiness here, then means we are certainly covered by sin. Mogha sa mogha karmana. So, mogha, agha means sin. Mogha sa, asa means desire, sinful desire. Mogha karma, sinful activities. It's all sin, sin and sin. Mogha chetasa. Can somebody read that verse from 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Mogha jnana vichitesa. So, sin is everywhere. Anmol avasti, sin, sin and sin. So, Professor Akshay is proudly declaring Kartavirya Arjuna's palace is there in the bank of Narmada in Maheshwara, 100 kilometers from Indore. So, he is very proud about it. Kartavirya. Okay. So, here the 5 ways how one can meditate on Krishna. Gopis by their lusty desire. Actually, this is not lusty desire, this is a pure desire. Kamsa by his fear, Sisupala and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familiar relations with Krishna, and you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we, the general devotees, by our devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. So, devotional service, great affection, familial relationship, envy, fear, and lusty desire. This is 6. Why this is 5? It looks like 6. Maybe I am mistaken. Before starting Jnana Yoga, in 13th chapter, Krishna is telling Jnana Yoga is difficult than Bhakti Yoga. Then why Krishna tells Jnana Yogi in Jnana Yoga in last 6 chapters? Please explain. Ajay Gudla The Jnana Yoga that is there in last 6 chapters is part of Bhakti Yoga. This is not the Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means how to distinguish matter from spirit. Okay. Whereas 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, this Jnana Yoga becomes concomitant factor. This knowledge becomes concomitant factor when you perform bhakti. Okay. So this jnana, this jnana also, because 13th chapter delineates what is the 3 actors, that is soul, super soul and material nature. And 14th chapter talks about 3 modes of material nature and how only by transcending the 3 modes of material nature one can attain perfection. Mam eva avyabhicharana bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samayate taitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So again, delineation of matter, a spirit from the matter. And then 15 is all about bhakti, Purushottama Yoga. So this is all about the spiritual knowledge, nature of the spiritual Brahman. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. What is that Brahman? So that Brahman is Purushottama. And then 16th and 17th are actions in different modes and faith in different modes, and divine and demoniac nature. So that is again distinction between divine qualities and demoniac qualities. So it's all part of jnana, obviously. And 18th is anyway perfection of jnana. So they are necessary. That is why we say when we perform bhakti, we naturally attain jnana. You don't have to strive jnana separately. But when you strive for jnana only, then you may not get bhakti. And most likely you will not get bhakti. That's a good question. अरे जा नहीं रहा भाई, देखो regulative principles prohibit smoking, drinking as they cause intoxication. Then how intoxication from wealth and vigor is different from this? Intoxication with wealth also is intoxication. There is no distinction. Chiranjit was asking this question, what does it mean when it said consciousness is reflected through illusory energy? Okay. You say, when mind becomes pure, the pure consciousness automatically manifests in mind. That means mind doesn't become a hindrance to my consciousness. But when mind is clouded, it is like there is sun, because mind is an element in mode of goodness. That which is in mode of goodness will be illuminated by the pure consciousness, naturally, because that is the nature of mode of goodness. But when mind is full of sin, impression, and it is impure, then it behaves like a very dark cloud. So hence, the divinity of the soul is completely blocked. So this is why it says reflection, means how much this mind will reflect the original consciousness. Because there is no other way to experience me directly. So that is why mind is your worst enemy, mind is your best friend. A pure mind will make you realize you are divine. So how do you act in pure mind? You act in pure mind by perfecting 4 actions: eating, mating, sleeping and defending. Okay, so thank you very much. I don't see there are any questions, so we stop here. 9:36. So we'll see you tomorrow. Please join in large number, because this Digvijay we saw. Tomorrow there is a special program. Tomorrow onwards for 5 days we will have special discussion Bhagavad Gita, 7 to 8:30.